Hi, this is John Biasiello from Sukay and Associates, and we're back again today with three questions. I'm really excited today because I have my friend Mark Rollins, whose agency we sold, helped sell probably about 10 years ago. Mark's doing some really cool stuff after retirement in the insurance industry. Thought it would be a great opportunity for some insurance agency owners to see that there really is some form of life after insurance. And I'd like to introduce you to Mark Rollins. I'm going to ask Mark to talk a little bit about what he's doing now. So Mark, thank you very much for agreeing to do this, and welcome to Three Questions. If you could do us a favor and just give us a little introduction and tell us about what's going on, now.
Sure. John, first of all, it's so good to see you again. And as we started before we were recording this, it's about 3 years ago, 10 years ago that we went through this process of selling our agency, which is incredible. I cannot believe it's 10 years. And it's got me thinking, like, where has the time gone, number one? But number two, where I am today, I never, ever imagined that I'd be doing what I'm doing now, when in June or late May of 2013, that Friday email came in from the legal department of Brown and Brown that the deal is done and the money has been transferred, and boom, it was over. And I thought that I would still be working for Brown and Brown today. I mean, that was my original intention when we sold, is that I wanted to be on the leadership team. I wanted to work with a couple of the guys on the acquisition side, and it just didn't pan out. And here I am today, 10 years later, doing something completely different, reinventing myself almost every day. And I wouldn't say really reinventing myself, but really finding the true Mark Rollins that was meant to do what he's doing now, which just feels amazing.
And what do you think led you to that? What led you to this place?
Failure at retirement. My dad was my inspiration. We had a fourth generation family business, and my dad retired at 65. Chuck and I bought him out, and he went to Florida with my mom, and he did his thing down there. He played golf 3 days a week. He had drinks with his buddies, and then lunch, went home, took a nap, woke up, watched a little TV, took my mom to dinner, and went to bed at 8 o'clock, and did the same thing every day. And 15 years later, he was dead. And it was so sad because he got caught up in the hazards of retirement. And for easiest way to explain it, three things happen to you when you retire. You lose your identity. And that's the biggest problem for type A personalities, the CEO of an agency, an owner of an agency. You've created your identity for 30 or 40 years, and then it's gone. Second thing is, how do you fill your time? So you've got 40 plus hours of free time that come your way. And the third part that's really dangerous is your community goes away. And my dad spent 15 years being, telling a story of, I used to do this, I used to do that, I used to know this guy, I used to know that guy. And he never created new relationships. He never created a new identity. He never figured out what to do to give him fulfillment, because it all went away. And he was dead in 15 years. And it's such a typical sad story. So the day he died at the age of 80, my wife and I, Jody, were thinking about our retirement. And we said, we clearly don't want a retirement like that. We want something different. But having said that, when 3 years after the deal, I stepped down from running the office and decided that I just wanted to go back to my roots. I didn't want to be on a leadership team. I wanted to take it easy a little bit. So I went back to my roots and said, just give me my 25 clients and I'll take care of them and everything will be great. And that first Monday in the office, it happened. I was irrelevant overnight. My good friend John took over the job running the office, and as I walked by the conference room where the weekly leadership team was taking place that I ran for 35 years, I wasn't even invited to it. So that was a 2-year tailspin for me and for Jody. And we started to travel. We started to go visit the kids. They were in college and they were in Europe. And we had a great time. I mean, we yucked it up and lived it up. I was financially set. So we had a good time. But after 2 years of that, we realized it was not sustainable and we were in trouble.
So how do what's the concept now? What are you trying to accomplish now?
Well, like I said, we were in trouble. We both gained a lot of weight. We were drinking too much. We were eating like crap. We weren't exercising. So we started to Google retirement roadmaps. And all we could find was everything financial planning. And we figured that out. We had a good financial planner. We were set. We were making smart decisions. Well, we weren't feeling well. We didn't look good. So we couldn't find anything. So we just started to change our life. We started to get rid of bad habits and bring in new, good, healthy habits. We started to eat right. We exercised. We worked on our relationship. We really changed who we were and what we were doing. And over a 2-year period, the changes were dramatic enough that people started to notice, and people started to say, "What are you guys doing? You look happy. You look healthy. You're really enjoying yourselves. We see you spend a lot of time with your family. What are you doing?" And then they started to say, "Can you help us do the same thing?" So what Jody and I did was we actually created a company called Retirement Transformed. And we took all of our tools and practices, and now we help others do the same thing to make this transition into this phase of life in a way that's different and it's fulfilling and it's exciting and it's healthy. And it's been an amazing ride. And, we now have a YouTube channel. We're writing a book. God, we do online courses. It's just turned into something that I never imagined it would be. I always thought I would stay in the business, either work for Brown & Brown, or when I retired, be a consultant, join a firm like yours, be a coach, be a mentor. And I'm so far away from anything insurance now. When people walk up to me and say they're in insurance, I kind of get the heebie-jeebies, like, I don't really want to talk about that anymore. So right. It's served me well for 40 years. And now I'm doing something that I never imagined could be as great as it is.
Well, that's awesome. And just a general comment. I mean, I know it's been 10 years, but you look the same as you did 10 years ago. So,
thank you.
Yeah, from that perspective, whatever you're doing is working. So, one of the things and one of the reasons we do these 3 questions is to give a potential or someone we're working with some idea of the process. And the first question of the 3 that I'd like to ask is, what led up to your decision for you and Chuck to decide to to sell your business? I mean, what was it in your decision-making process that got you there?
Well, we Chuck and I were actually 2 years before we sold. We did a test drive of trying to sell the agency, and I'm pretty sure you and Tom were involved. We started to go through the process. I was 53, Chuck was 51. There was a lot of noise out in the marketplace. The multiples were the highest they've ever been. We were starting to, I wouldn't say get bored with the business, but wondering what it could be like, started to imagine our retirement. So we wanted to test the waters. And we had taken a 4th-generation family agency, and actually with the help of Roger Sitkins and some other consultants, completely changed our company. I mean, we went from 3 offices and 80 people to 1 office and 25 people. We went from 2 million in revenue to 6 million in revenue. We were able to get our profit margin from 10% 40%. So we had this very valuable asset and said, well, why don't we just test and see? So we went through the process and then we got scared. We got nervous. Is this really what we want to do? So we backed off. And we said to each other, why don't we spend the next 5 years and we'll go from 6 million to 12 million and we'll really double down on the whole thing and then sell it. Well, a year later, we're like, I think we should sell it because we wanted to enjoy life a little bit. We wanted to try something different. We really wanted to take our largest asset and turn it into cash to take the risk off the table. I didn't know what was happening in the industry with profit sharing, commissions. So anyway, we spent time with you, and I know we started in September of 2012, and we met with, I don't know, 10. We met with 10 different companies. And I will say, at times it was awful. The process is awful. And right after I did it, I said to people, if I had known how hard it would be, probably wouldn't have done it. But now that I've done it, I would do it all over again. So I guess one thing I would say is when you're starting to feel like, oh, this sucks and it's hard and it's painful, it is. You're feeling what you should be feeling because you're selling something that, God, is so near and dear to your heart. But what I didn't have that I have now is this vision of where I'd end up. That helps a lot in the process. So I don't know if I answered your whole question, but if you've got something that I missed, let me know.
No, I mean, I think that's fair. That's a fair answer to the question. I mean, it's, and it's more about, getting to that decision. I mean, for a lot of our clients, it's very difficult,
Yeah.
to get, because of exactly what you're saying, and your point in the beginning about it's who you are, not what you are, becomes very relevant.
Yeah.
For lots of our potential clients. I mean, it's everything they are. It's part of their community. They're part of their lives. It's their family. Most of them have their kids in the business. So it's very relevant.
It is. I mean, I think back when Chuck and I were running the company, and we were in Westchester County, New York, just outside of Manhattan. And we were one of the larger family-owned agencies in the county. And we were very active in the nonprofit community, very active in the business community. We'd walk into meetings and we were the guys. We were Mark and Chuck Rollins, and we were the guys. And I'll tell you, if I went back to Westchester now, I went to one of those dinner meetings, I'd probably still know 100 people and they'd be like, holy shit, I can't believe you're here. But I'm fine without them. A lot of the relationships that we have in business, my wife Jody's really good with this because she left a 30-year career at Chubb. They're situational. You think these are your best friends. You think these are relationships that are going to last forever. Your clients, your insurance company people, your lawyers, your centers of influence. But you're in the mix of it when you're doing it. So the fear of ending these relationships is real. And what I will tell you is they do end. They end because they don't need you anymore. You don't need them anymore. Some still continue, but that's on you. That's on me. And I still have some really great friends in Westchester County, and we talk a lot and we get together. But there's hard work to do when you enter retirement. You need to create new communities, 100%. You need to find your people, the people that you want to spend the next 30 years with that are in the same phase of life.
Thanks, Mark. That's great. And to your point about, being the people, it was pretty exciting for me when I found out that we were actually going to help you guys out to achieve some of the goals that ultimately we did together, because I was excited to work with you guys because of your reputation. So, it totally preceded you. We couldn't say enough about working with you guys, both personally and professionally.
Thank you.
You both, and as you said, it's a hard process. So working with people that you can, one, trust, and two, that you have a lot of respect for makes the job as easy as it can be. Let's put it that way.
Thank you.
You know, how did you, what was the effect to your clients, to your employees, to your family? And how are you affected, by this initially? You talked about how it affected you later on, but initially, how were you affected by it?
Well, it was, we were selling to a public company, so we couldn't include anyone in the process. We did have three people: our CFO, our chief operating officer, and I think there was one other person we brought into confidence probably 2 months before the deal was done, because we really needed them to help gather information and all of that. So they got used to it, they understood it. But when the deal was done on Friday, so it was legally done, backdated 2 weeks ago, I guess it was, we had to announce it to everybody that following Monday. So Chuck and I had prepared all of this, and we were going to have a company-wide meeting, and the plan was for each of us to call our 10 largest clients and to call the carriers. So, you guys did a really great job teeing up what has to happen through the entire process. So we weren't unclear about that. Emotionally, you guys were helpful because, like probably a lot of people that sell, you guys are part-time financial guys, part-time psychiatrists or therapists.
Yeah,
Probably therapists.
I've heard that before. Yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah. You guys were therapists. I mean, we never would have done it without you. There's no way. So that Monday morning came, and Chuck and I had to come out and make this announcement. And we've been around 103 years, fourth generation family business. We had 25 solid, key, loyal employees that have been with us an average of, 10 years or more, some for 30. They cried. They couldn't believe it. There was some anger. There was some, I can't believe you did this to us. How could you do this to us? So, for a lot of the people, it was all about them. It wasn't about us. So there was a whole mix of emotions. The meeting lasted about an hour. And Chuck and I went back to our offices, and we had lines out our door. Some conversations were amazing. I'm so happy for you guys. This is great. I want to hear more about what the future's like with Brown and Brown and what we're going to do. And so exciting. And others weren't so excited. And some people quit. So that was hard. That was new for us. That was disruptive. And then calling the clients, honestly, was the easiest part of the whole process. I called up my largest clients one at a time, and I told them, I want to let you know, you're going to see it in the paper that we just sold our agency, and I want to be the first to tell you. And they all had, I think it was three questions to 3 comments. First, is this good for you, Mark? Yeah, it is. Well, that's great. I'm happy for you. Is Lori still going to be my account manager? Yeah, she's still going to be your account manager. Great. Then if nothing else is changing, I'm good. And call after call after call, I got that. And I thought, wow, I was a little bit over concerned about what clients would think. So that was actually, that felt great. So then the carriers, oh, we lose another one, whatever, but life goes on. No one got hurt. Everything was fine. It was, and then it took a while for me and for Chuck and the rest of the leadership team to get used to the new way. There's changes. There's health insurance changes because we're part of a public company now. There's more paperwork, I would say, to say it simply. It's
The financial
it's a little bit
reporting
harder.
changed, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and reporting to someone. I worked for myself, Chuck and I, for our whole life since we got our first job cutting grass at 14 or 12. This was different, reporting up to managers and regional, and going to quarterly meetings down in Florida with 100 other great leaders around the country. That part was kind of exciting. So it was, you just get used to it.
Cool. So as you were thinking about this, you obviously had to think, ultimately we have to do something here. I'm not sure what. Like you said, you and Chuck had tried it a little bit and talked to us a little bit about that, and it didn't work the first time. But my question is, what did you think of the process that we sort of helped you manage through? What were some of the good stuff, and what did you think was difficult? You said the process was hard. Is there anything that you could point out that um, you know that was hard, and this is exactly the reason why we would want someone like Sukay and Associates involved?
Well, there's absolutely no way we would have done it without you. I think 2 years prior to that, Chuck and I reached out. We like, whoever's watching this, if you own your agency and, you're of a certain size and a certain age, Brown and Brown, Gallagher, all the private equity firms now, they're chasing you down, right? They're calling you a couple times a year. And I know Gallagher was calling us. And I think what Chuck and I did was we finally returned a call, and he came to visit and started to lay out the process. And then I think we called one other person, and then an M&A person called us. Can't remember who it was. And it didn't feel right. It felt like there was pressure. It felt like it was all about the money for them. So we backed off. And I believe that's when we met you guys, and we had probably multiple hours of conversations before any introductions to anybody. And you held our hand through, what we're going to feel. And you were right. We were going to feel anxiety and stress, and our employees are going to be kind of, someone will be annoyed. I mean, you laid it all out. There were no surprises. The only surprise was it's just a hard process. It's distracting. But you need to do it to move on. I mean, we weren't going to sell it to our kids. We weren't going to sell it internally. We were going to sell it externally. So you have to go through the pain to walk through the door to get to the other side. So it would not have happened without you guys, for sure, 100%.
And Mark, first of all, I'd like to thank you for agreeing to do this. I know your time's pretty valuable, and I appreciate you jumping in. I'm sure that there's people out there that are in your position that are really going to benefit from this. So I hope you take that away from this. Thank you again. Again, my condolences for Chuck. And
thank you.
Miss him a lot. Love playing music with him.
Yeah.
He and I had that in common, and it was a whole lot of fun to go up and play with his band. And
yeah,
I think of him often. I think of him often. So,
well, it's interesting you brought Chuck up, because we didn't really talk about that, but my brother Chuck and I were business partners for forever, and unfortunately, Chuck went 2 years ago. Was diagnosed with ALS, and unfortunately passed away last fall. But I think that, what part of what has done that for me is we all need to, embrace our lives and embrace, during your career when you're earning money and all of that. But there's this whole phase of life, this retirement phase is brand new. I mean, 100 years ago, people didn't retire. They just got to be 40 or 50 and died. There's a whole world beyond insurance. There's a whole world beyond owning your company. And, keeping that in mind will help guide you towards doing something that's much more important than what you were called to do than the insurance business. So I just want to encourage you all to dream a little bit about what life could be like, and use that as a stepping stone to help you go through the struggle of trying to sell your company. It's painful, but the other side is just so beautiful. So I just wanted to add that.
Right. And if some of these people want to know, how to be a part of that retirement, Mark, how do they do that?
Well, certainly happy to have you put my contact information, my email at the bottom of this. Anyone can email me. But our company is called Retirement Transformed. And there's a YouTube channel, website. We're pretty active on social media. And so that's where to find us, Retirement Transformed.
And we're looking forward to the book.
Yes, I'm excited to launch that book probably in another month or two. And thank you for your help with it. That really appreciate that.
No problem.